Diffusion is the movement of molecules from a higher to a lower concentration. That is, down their concentration gradient until equilibrium is achieved and the molecules are distributed equally. Diffusion is a physical process that results from random molecular motion that can be observed with any type of molecule. Diffusion occurs in solutions. A solution contains both a solute, usually a solid, and a solvent, usually a liquid. Several factors influence the rate of diffusion, including temperature, pressure, electrical currents, and molecular size. For example, as temperature increases, the rate of diffusion increases. The movement of fishes in the tank would also speed the rate of diffusion.
The diffusion of water across a selectively permeable membrane is called osmosis. The water moves from an area of low solute concentration to an area of high solute concentration. You can think of it like the water is moving to balance out the concentrations on either side. On the board, in the image on the left, the solution to the right of the membrane clearly has a higher concentration of solute than the solution on the left. However, the solute particles cannot diffuse across the semipermeable membrane, so the water will move from the left to the right to balance out the concentrations. On the image on the right, the concentrations of solute are more equal.
Hypotonic solutions refer to a solution with a lower concentration of solute and a higher concentration of water outside of the cell rather than inside of the cell. Hypertonic solution refers to a solution with a higher concentration of solute and a lower concentration of water outside of the cell rather than inside of the cell. On the board, the cells farthest to the left have been placed in an isotonic solution. In an isotonic solution, the concentration of solvent is equal inside and outside of the cell. Therefore, there is no net movement of water. On the board, the cells on the far left have been placed in an isotonic solution. In an isotonic solution, there is an equal concentration of solute inside and outside of the cell. Therefore, there is no net movement of water. On the board, the cells in the middle have been placed in a hypotonic solution. In a hypotonic solution, there is a higher concentration of solute inside of the cell. Therefore, water moves into the cell to balance the concentration inside and outside of the cell. For an animal cell, the increase of water inside of the cell may cause the cell to burst. This is called lysis. For a plant cell, the pressure inside of the cell increases and presses against the cell wall. This is called turgor pressure. On the board, the cells to the right have been placed in a hypertonic solution. In a hypertonic solution, there is a greater concentration of solute outside of the cell. Water flows out of the cell to balance the concentration of solute inside and outside of the cell. In plant cells, water will flow out of the cell to balance the concentration. This is called crenation. In plant cells, the cytoplasm shrinks away from the cell wall as water flows out of the cell. This is called plasmolysis. The plasma membrane impedes the passage of all but a few substances. Yet, biologically useful molecules are able to rapidly enter and exit the cell, either by way of a channel protein or because of a carrier protein in the membrane. These transport proteins are specific. Each can transport only a certain type of molecule or ion across the membrane. How carrier proteins function is not completely understood, but after a carrier combines with a molecule, the carrier is believed to undergo a change in shape that moves the molecules across the membrane. Carrier proteins are utilized for both facilitated transport, movement with a concentration gradient that requires no energy, and active transport, which is movement against the concentration gradient and it does require additional energy. Facilitated transport explains how molecules such as glucose and amino acids are rapidly transported across the plasma membrane. Whereas water moves through a channel protein, the passage of glucose and amino acids is facilitated by the reversible combination with carrier proteins, which transport them through the plasma membrane. These carrier proteins are specific. For example, various sugar molecules of identical size might be present inside or outside the cell, but glucose can cross the membrane hundreds of times faster than the other sugars. As stated earlier, this is the reason the membrane can be called selectively permeable. A model for facilitated transport is shown on the board. It shows that after a carrier has assisted the movement of a molecule to the other side of the membrane, it is free to assist the passage of other solute molecules. Neither diffusion nor facilitated transport require an expenditure of energy because the molecules are moving down their concentration gradient. Learning Outcome 1. Describe how molecules move from high to low concentration. Molecules move from high to low concentration through the process of diffusion. Diffusion is a physical process that results from the random molecular motion that can be observed with any type of molecule. Diffusion stops when the concentration of molecules is equal. This is called equilibrium.
Learning outcome 2. Compare diffusion and osmosis across a membrane. Whereas diffusion is the movement of any molecule, osmosis is the diffusion of specifically water across a semipermeable membrane.
Learning outcome 3. Differentiate between hypotonic, isotonic, and hypertonic solutions for animal and plant cells. When an animal cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, it experiences lysis, which is the bursting of the cell. When a plant cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, it experiences an increase in turgor pressure. When animal and plant cells are placed in isotonic solutions, they experience no net change in the movement of water. When an animal cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, it shrivels. This is called crenation. When a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, the vacuoles lose water and the cytoplasm shrinks away from the cell wall. This is called plasmolysis.